Hey, Nichole Huntsman, your astrologer from moderncosmic.com. I wanted to share something with you guys that's kind of funny. When you take like your midday siesta because you're tired, because you maybe stayed up late the night before. I'm sure you guys don't ever do that ever. So as I'm taking the siesta and I'm having the dream within the dream, like an inception, like super deep asleep. I dream of my daughter bringing me home cake from school, which actually when I woke up from my dream within a dream, like in real life, she brought home cake from school, which is pretty funny. That happens all the time. Hey, in my dream, someone, hey, you want to go to coffee? And then I wake up to a text message. Hey, you want to go to coffee today? It was just because I go to coffee all the time. I don't know. And my daughter bakes a lot. Okay. Anyhow, I'm apparently still asleep. In this dream, as I woke up, I realized I had this, I kept calling different vehicles by zodiac signs. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is a great sort of metaphor and a way to illustrate the planets in the birth chart and what they represent. So we're going to pretend right now that you are going to go on a trip. The trip is your life. It's your journey. That's an easy parallel, right? Now, on this journey, you need a form of transportation. And you got to pick what you're going to be using, the vehicle. Now, there are many, many ways to get from point A to point B. So let's say we're going to go through just the elements. So let's say you're a fire sign. If you're a fire sign, if your sun is in a fire sign, then let's pretend like your vehicle is something that uses gasoline. Uses fire to operate, right? So you could be on a motorcycle, you could be in a car, you could be driving a truck, a bus, a van, XYZ. You could even be driving one of those little tiny smart cars. How are those on the road? I have no idea. This almost seems more dangerous than a motorcycle to me in certain respects. Okay, anyway, you got some kind of a fire, that's your fire sun sign. If you've got, let's say you have an earthy sun sign, then perhaps you would be riding on an animal. Okay, something like an elephant, an alpaca, a llama, maybe a donkey, a horse, a camel, an animal. Because an animal, yes, while they're slow moving, they're going to get you into places other vehicles can't, motorized vehicles can't. So they're slow moving, but they're practical and they're sure-footed and they can do things that others can't do simply because they are built to move on the earth, okay? So this is you can sort of say the same thing for earth signs. They are a little more slow-moving, more practical, but they get the job done. Now, let's say you've got an air sign. With an air sign, this would be like an airplane, helicopter, space shuttle, I don't know. Yeah, some people who are way out there in like outer space, maybe are Aquarians. You may be on a rocket. Let's say then we've got our water signs. So water signs are going to be the boats, right? So it could even be like an inner tube. I am floating down the lazy river of my life. I've met many people like that in my job as an astrologer. So I've definitely seen charts like that. You could have a cruise ship. You could have like a speedboat. You could have a catamaran. You could have a submarine, like under the water. Those are maybe like our Scorpios. They'd be like stealthy under the water. All right. So that's our sun sign. So is that making sense so far? So take your vehicle, whatever it is. I'm a Libra. So my vehicle, it's going to be an airplane because I love airplanes. So it's an airplane. Now we're going to talk about the moon. So the moon in your birth chart represents the operator. It's the human element. It's emotion. Okay. So is your operator a grandma, Capricorn moon, grandma, grandpa, or is your operator? Well, I have an Aries moon, so my operator apparently thinks that she is like a teenager or like really. She's a little risk-taking at times. What does this moon look like? If you've got, so let's go through them. So if you've got if you've got a fiery moon, you've got someone who is passionate and someone who's perhaps a little spontaneous and a little risk-taking. If you've got someone with an earthy moon, then you've got someone who's more cautious. They're more interested in getting there in one piece rather than, see, the fire moon is like, oh, this is fun to drive fast. It feels good. That's maybe the fire moon. Earthy moon's more like, okay, that's great now. Let's get there on time. And in one piece and without any sort of like increases in our insurance premiums. That'd be great. Thanks. Okay, that'd be Earth. Then you got your air signs are going to be the ones who are probably on the phone the whole time, or they're with someone, or you're anyone who, or they're listening to talk radio, or listening to like they're like multitasking. They're like doing more than one thing, and the second thing that they're operating something, and they're also talking or thinking or listening to somebody else talking, that kind of thing, right? Now, let's say water moon. This would be your person who is, oh geez, they would be, can be very different from the different water signs. So maybe just more of a considerate driver. They're more the type that's, following the rules and letting you in. But then they're also, oh, I just missed my exit. Pisces, a little more maybe thinking about what happened earlier in the day with their lover or something. I don't know. Okay, so the metaphor is a little weak on the, I gotta like rethink the water moon people. Maybe you guys can come up with something better than that. Okay, now we need Mercury. So Mercury is the planet in the birth chart that has to do with communication and intelligence. So when we're talking about our road trip, it is going to be our means of wayfinding. How are we getting to where we're getting to? Like, what's our plan? If you've got a fiery Mercury, then you're probably someone who you're like, well, I know how to get there. I don't need a map. Siri, what is this Siri you speak of? Like it's like the old stereotype, the man who won't stop and ask for directions. He's like almost definitely, maybe not Sagittarius, but most definitely an Aries or a Leo, or Taurus, so that's not fire. But anyway, okay. Now, if you're an earthy Mercury, I'm an earthy Mercury in Virgo. I love paper I can write on, and I love maps. Like I actually like having a physical map, although they're a pain in the ass to have to like fold. What's the deal with that? Why are maps so bizarrely folded? It's never made sense to me. You can never refold them the way that they were like originally folded. It's like a tent or a sleeping bag. Anyway, I need to learn these tricks. I need to get a Pinterest, I suppose. So with the map, earthy signs like to plan things in advance. They like to know where they're going. They'd have a map with the trip like drawn on the map. And this is an actual true to form. I actually have done this. I've driven across the country 4 times by myself, and back before we had Siri, and that's exactly what I would do. I'd have the whole thing out like written on the map and where I was stopping, like drawn on the map, the hotels I'd be staying in, stuff like that. That way I didn't get killed, me and my cat. Okay, so that's Earth. If you're air would be Siri. Air is going to be, but like, let's say it's like a well-functioning, I don't know, generation, like 10 years down the road version of Siri where she actually works properly and gives you accurate directions. Although she might be a little bit profuse with her. I've always wanted a Siri that like, when you go the wrong way, she curses at you, or like insults you. I think it'd be really awesome. There should be an app for that. Like she calls you rude things, like you idiot, but like with much more colorful language. Okay, so that would be air. If you're a water sign, you've got Siri, but oh my gosh, really Siri? That's the most creative way to get from here to the mall than I've ever imagined in my life. So I'm not going to use you. So I'm just going to follow my gut instinct and just go the way I think I'm supposed to go. See, water signs are emotion-based, and the moon is emotion, right? That's our operator. So it's just kind of trusting yourself to figure out how you're going to get where you're going on that gut instinct with your Mercury. Okay. Now we're going to move out into Jupiter and, oh, no, we're not. I'm skipping like 2 fantastic things, right? Venus and Mars. So Venus is what on this road trip is making this fun, or on this journey. I'm saying road trip, but you could be on an airplane, right? You could be in your rocket ship. I don't know what you're in. Or your submarine. What are you doing on this journey that's helping you pass time? That's Venus. So if you've ever wondered why, like in romance, we just can't quite get along, or I'm not romantically attracted to this person, but I love spending time with them. So maybe your Marses don't get along, but your Venuses are right by each other. I had that in my marriage, and it was awesome. Like we loved traveling together, eating together, blah, blah, blah. So on your trip, if you've got let's say a fiery Venus, let's just say, for example, they would probably be the one that's racing someone. I feel like they'd be like, "Oh, you want to race?" Like at the stoplight, or like passing someone, or the one that's a little aggressive, that's like right up on your tail. Like they would be enjoying the trip, the actual trip itself, in my mind. If you've got someone with like if you've got an earthy Venus, then perhaps you're the one who is reading a book, or you're doing something practical. I'm like, if you're driving, obviously I'm thinking like if you're in an airplane, you can read a book when you're driving. You can't really. I mean, some of us read books while we're driving at stoplights and things, but you know what I'm saying. You probably should not do the reading of books while driving your vehicle or flying your spaceship. But okay, so this is a little bit more challenging to come up with obviously like Venus type things. Maybe you're looking out the windows of the scenery, it's really beautiful. You have a Taurus Venus, and you're like, oh, geez, it's really beautiful. I'm enjoying the feeling of having my car window down and the wind on me. It feels good. You know, that would be an earthy use of Venus. If you've got an air Venus, then yeah, air Venus would be the one listening to music or talk radio or actually with someone, having a conversation with someone, enjoying that trip with a partner. Now, it's not to say that, you know, not to say that other people with Venuses in other placements aren't enjoying a trip with a partner, but I'm just using this as a metaphor. Water Venus would be somebody who would be in their imagination, in my mind. They're like imagining, see, the water ones are a little bit trickier with this transportation metaphor. They would definitely probably have some with them that they loved, and they would be, I don't know, drawing a picture. You could be Piscean, listening to music. Oh yeah, music. There we go. That's very water. Listening to music or creating some kind of art if you're writing, if you're on a trip where you're writing, or they would be taking very creative. That's what they'd be doing. A very creative route. Like, oh, let's go. You're driving from, like I grew up in Oregon. You're driving from Oregon down to California. Let's drive down the coast the whole way. It's not as efficient, but it's really beautiful, and we can enjoy the scenery of the ocean. That kind of thing. Okay. Yeah, we're going to move out to Mars. So Mars would be how it's the urgency with which you're taking your trip. So some people will use mine. I have a Mars in Cancer. If I am flying my little airplane, I forgot to do ascendant. Okay, I'll do that in a second. I've got my little airplane that I'm piling my airplane like a little bit aggressively because I think I'm a little risk taker. But I also have a Mars in Cancer. So Mars in Cancer is a watery Mars. So with that one, I'm going to be a little bit more cautious. I don't really want to crash my airplane. I think I've done that before. It's like a past life thing. Oops. So let's try and keep it in the air. It's good. And land it on the ground in the right way. Not like this, but like this. Okay. So, but with Mars, if you've got fire Mars, that's obviously going to be someone there's more urgency there. That's the desire to go fast, or that desire to be in charge or in front of everybody, or maybe aggressively tailgating someone because they're in the fast lane and it really bothers you that they're going only 5 miles per hour over the speed limit when they could be going as fast as you're going, or they could just get out of your way. If you've got an earthy Mars, maybe you're someone who's cautious and you want to get there in one piece. You don't want your insurance premiums going up. And so you're more likely to be in the slow lane, perhaps, or you planned your trip out and you know exactly where you're going because you want to get there on time, or you want to, et cetera, et cetera. Let's say you've got, are you still with me? Okay. I'm like, am I still with myself? Okay. I might still be asleep. Air Mars, then, I don't know, Air Mars is kind of similar to Fire Mars. It's just it's planned the trip out in advance. It's spontaneous. It's open to changes and plans. It's like, oh, you need to stop at the gas station? Oh, we'll just stop right here at this one, at this odd, interesting exit in this interesting part of town. And we'll just see what happens. We can talk our way out of anything. And then you got your water Mars. They're the ones who I feel like they're lost. They're getting lost. I feel like they're like, oh, geez, that was my exit. Or they're the ones that in their submarine under the water, that's kind of perfect because they can go in any direction when you're underwater. Same thing with the airplanes, I suppose. But okay, then I know. I'm sorry. You guys are probably way better at this than I am. I'm struggling with the Mars part. Then we move out to Jupiter, Saturn, and the outer planets. So I'm not going to go through all of the elements for these guys, but with Jupiter, this is just like the opportunity. So it's somebody letting you in. It's somebody moving over so that you can get out into the freeway when there's a traffic jam. They let you in. It would be somebody who, or it's just like a day where you hit all the green lights. You're like, boom, there you go. Or it's the rock star parking. You get to the restaurant or the parking lot that's always really full, or like the gym parking lot, and there's your spot right there. That would be Jupiter. See, it's like lucky breaks. Saturn would be the opposite. So Saturn's going to be, crap, I left a little bit too late, and now I'm stuck in rush hour traffic. And I'm stuck in a traffic jam. Saturn is also, if there's construction being done, these construction workers, you having to slow down. You have to drive slower to be more careful so you don't hit somebody. So you're going to see Saturn applies. Saturn is also kind of, I was going to say it's police officers pulling you over. That's more Pluto, though. Saturn is just, it's the things you can't really, it's congestion, restriction, rules. It's red lights. That's Saturn. Green lights would be Jupiter. Okay, is this making sense? So you're outside your vehicle. It's in the world around you. If you're in your airplane or your, I don't know, that would be like air traffic control to a certain extent. They're going to tell you when you can and can't land. It's your, it's kind of your connection. It's other people. It's like your connection to the outer world, and it's whether they're giving you opportunities or if the outer world is giving you opportunities or taking them away from you. That's Jupiter, Saturn. Okay. Expansion, Jupiter. Restriction, Saturn. Constriction, Saturn. All right, so now the outer planets. You've got with Uranus, Uranus is the crazy electrical storm that you have when you're flying an airplane. All of a sudden you're flying through a thunderstorm, okay? Uranus would be the crazy driver. Remember, watchword for Uranus is crazy, crazy making. So crazy driver who is zigzagging in and out of traffic unpredictably, and you're thinking like, where are the police when you need them? I always think of a string of expletives when I see someone like that, because they make me really angry because they're putting other people's lives at risk, not only their own. So that would be Uranian, okay? Neptune's going to be, could be sort of the drunk driver. So it could be the fact that there are people all around you that could be very confused. You yourself could be confused. When you're lost, that's Neptune. You're like, I have no idea. I am out of self-service right now, and I don't know where I'm at. So I'm going to have to just kind of guess. Whenever people come to me with strong Pisces in their birth charts, with strong Neptune, I'm like, my job is, I'm here to tell you, you have to feel your way through this. I don't have answers for you. It's just you came ill-equipped, or maybe not ill-equipped. You just came without a map, or you're in a territory where there ain't no cell service, baby. So your Siri is not going to be working, or your phone's dead and you don't have a charger. So you better figure it out. That's Neptune. Now we move all the way out to Pluto. Pluto is going to be the overarching, just the powers that be. It's power. So it's everything from the fuel sources that we're using for our transportation. Here on Earth, we have pretty rudimentary fuel sources. I mean, we're using fossil fuels. It's actually hilarious when we're using, detritus. People think it's dinosaurs. It's actually not just dinosaurs. It is organic life, but we're using this ancient fuel from our Earth, from in the ground, even though we have a star right here. We've yet to learn how to harness. Interesting. So that's Pluto, and the fuel that's being used, and it's also the power that the police have to pull you over, to take possession of your vehicle, to put your body in jail. That's Pluto. All that's Pluto stuff. All right, so that's my little metaphor. Let me know what you think. The ascendant, by the way, I didn't mention it. It's ascendant will be the style. So like your ascendant, you got two cars. There's a big difference between like a 1989 Hyundai and a 2017 Ferrari, whatever model. I don't know anything about Ferraris, or any cars really, actually, but some fancy Ferrari that's like convertible or something. I don't know. That's the difference. That's the ascendant. It's the style. It's surface stuff. Okay. But I mean, Ferrari is really fast and kind of great and fun to ride. So style does matter sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Okay. That's my metaphor. Hope it made sense. I hope this was fun for you to watch, and have a good one. Okay. Bye-bye.